The game was, in one word, dominate. Dominate. Let's get into it. You have the Indiana Fever who come on the court like this is our house. It will not be taken. This is our house. They came on the court and it was all about business. Now, there have been other times where the Indiana Fever have taken the court and we thought it was going to be about business, but namely in the last two games, it only lasted for a little bit. This time, there was something in the air. This time, something had shifted. They were not playing. They were dominant. They were dominating the court. How did that look? It looked like shots being fired and the buckets being made. It looked like a greater defense against their opponents, where they could not shoot, or they ran out of time, or they just was messing up. It looked like Kelsey was on fire. It looked like Boston was on fire. It looked like Odyssey was on fire. It looked like every teammate was there to win, was there to not lose. We find that, early on in the first half, that Lexi and Gabby Williams had collided. Their heads had collided when they were coming down with the ball in the paint, and basically they both were slow to get up, sort of like really off balance. And Lexi went to the locker room, and Gabby went to the bench, and you could tell they were a little bit, out of it a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, that's what happens when you hit heads with somebody else, right? But I tell you what, Lexi came out of that locker room and was prepared to get back on that court and play. And play she did. Lexi is a whatever you need kind of player. You need a bucket? Okay, there you go. You need someone to put up a screen? Okay, there you go. You need someone to steal a ball? Okay, there you go. You need someone to, she is a go-to person to do almost anything that's necessary or needed on the court. And before she got, her head got knocked, she was on it. And then afterwards, she was on it. Every player of the Indiana Fever were about business. Now, I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about they were dialed in. They were locked in, dialed in. That's a different kind of experience. And you know that when someone's dialed in, you know when someone's really paying attention, you know when someone's communicating, when someone's really letting their teammates know what's going on, because it looks different and the action is different. And that's what the Indiana Fever were about. They were about it so much that Seattle Storm, they were off kilter. They were off balance. Yes, they got buckets. That happened. But the Indiana Fever pretty much made themselves, be ahead of the Storm for pretty much the whole game, basically. And there's reasons why this happened. One, they were locked in. Okay, they were communicating with each other. And we could actually hear it. If you watch the game, you could actually hear them talking to each other. That is necessary when you're on the court. We have a point guard, Odyssey Sims, who's now in her third uh, contract, 7-day hardship contract with the Indiana Fever. She has gotten better and better. The more comfortable she is, the better she plays. Makes sense, right? She let off, this is in the fourth quarter, she let off a 3-point shot from the logo. From the logo. Who does that remind you of? She was doing a Caitlin Clark thing. And she shook her head afterwards in amazement at what she could do. But you see, let me just tell you a little side here, a little side thing. When you are around greatness, when you are around people who have high IQs, when you are around people that are playing basketball that are strategic and that are infectious, you get some of that on you. And it started last season with Caitlin Clark and the rest of the team. They got some of Caitlin on them. Okay? And it was good. It was a good thing. It shook up the team, woke them up, and they became more of themselves. Because the talent's always been there. But she has that about her that brings talent to the forefront. And now in the second season, when Caitlin was there in the beginning, but because of injuries hasn't been, but been there for her team in other ways, as well as been there pretty much for every home game and away game. For the most part, she was there, cheering them on. They understood that they were much more. They were much more than what they thought, or much more could come out of them. That's more a way of putting it. Much more could rise and emerge out of them. And this is what we've seen. Now, one of the things that Kelsey said one time, I think it was after the loss, one of the losses with the Lynx. She said, we sometimes miss this little part, these little pieces, or this little bit of something we miss. And that's what they've been doing. They've been missing these little bits and pieces here and there, and that's led them to get some losses. And one of those little bits and pieces is that consistency. You show up in the first quarter, you play it all the way through, each possession at a time, until you get to the fourth quarter, each possession at a time, and you play hard. That was one of those little bitty pieces. Defense, having to have a greater defense. Some teams need more of a greater defense than others. But you know what? If you come in there already prepared, you don't got to get prepared, because you're already at that level of giving a greater defense. And this is what the Indiana Fever have to do every single game. It's got to be greater defense that will give us more offensive buckets. Right? That's what we saw tonight. We saw them have transitional points. We saw them, stealing the ball. We saw them, really wrestling for the ball. We saw them be strong in the paint. We saw them blocking balls. Okay? They were on that defense, and they had increased it. It shouldn't matter what opponent you play. It shouldn't matter, what team it's going to be, whether it's the Lynx, whether it's the Storm, whether it's, the Los Angeles Sparks, whoever it is, you have a greater defense, always up high, always. And I believe that's that little piece that Kelsey was talking about that they've been missing. That's it. That's it. Okay? And your confidence has got to be there. You got to know who you are. You got to know how you've been training. You got to know that you got it in you, and probably even more than you think. Right? Okay. And they played well, rebounding. They played well, and those backdoor cuts. They were like on it. Kelsey was passing the ball without even looking, and passing in ways that was like, spectacular. Again, she was looking like, she was doing some Caitlin Clark moves on the floor. All right. Now that has always been in Kelsey, but she's come to be much more vibrant and much more about it, playing into her strengths. If you've seen her over the years, she's always been a point maker, but she's much more than that too. It was so good to see the Fever in their flow, in their rhythm. It was fast paced for the most part for them, which is the way it always should be. Always. That's how they make buckets. And see, the thing is that the Seattle Storm, they're a good team. NECA, she was hitting those buckets. They're a good team. Diggins, good team. Gabby Williams, excellent players. But if they get thrown off center, if their offense gets disrupted, then that's an opportunity for their opponents, for the Fever to make points. And that's what happened during the game. But there's one more other reason that I want to tell you about. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I get to it in a little bit. They have been down. They have 5 players who are out. 3 of them are out for the season. 3 of them are out for the season. Ari, Sophie, and Sid are out for the season. And we have Caitlin injury on the bench. We have Bibby injured on the bench. We have 3 people: Odyssey Sims, Shea Petty, and Aerial Powers, who are new players on board that have signed 7-day hardship contracts. Shea on her 2nd, Odyssey on her 3rd, and Ariel just came on her 1st. It takes something of a core group to welcome in new players and to gel with them to the degree in which they were playing the Seattle Storm. Because they were playing like a machine. They were playing together. They were communicating, connecting, and playing together. Now, it wasn't perfect. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when your head is in the game, when you are locked in, the play is different. And that's how the Fever played differently tonight. Right? Let's check out the quarters and some other scores. All right. In the first quarter, it was Seattle 20, Indiana 26. Okay. Second quarter, Seattle 19, Indiana 24. So no matter what in that first half, Indiana took the lead. And they made sure to keep Seattle where they were. Third quarter, Seattle 17 and Indiana 24. So right about now, Indiana's being consistent. And they're feeling it. They're showing it. The fans are eating it up in the arena. Fourth quarter, Seattle 19, Indiana 21. So throughout the whole game, pretty much, the Indiana Fever dominated. They dominated the play. And the score ended up being 95-75, the Fever. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Now, for the Storm, their top players, NECA had 17 points. She had 2 of 2 3-pointers, 7 of 11 field goals. And then Brittany Sykes had 12 points, 4 of 8 field goals, okay? And she had 3 assists. Those were the only 2 players that scored double digits. Indiana Fever, plays that scored double digits. Aliyah Boston, 27 points. 27 points. Odyssey Sims, 22 points. Kelsey Mitchell, 21 points. And as far as field goals, Aliyah had 10 out of 18 and 1 out of 2 3-pointers. And Odyssey had 8 out of 14 field goals and 3 out of 4 3-pointers. And Mitchell had 8 out of 15 field goals and 2 out of 4 3-pointers. Those were the top scorers for the Indiana Fever. Now, they've met with the Seattle Storm 3 times, and the Indiana Fever has won all 3 games. First one, 94-86, Fever. Second, 78-74, Fever. And this time, 95-75, Fever. That's the last of their series. They won't meet the Storm again in the regular season. At the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, there were 16,737 people in attendance. That's pretty good. That's real good. And let me see here. Rebounds. Seattle had 21. Fever had 42. Points in the paint, 38 for Seattle and 52 for Fever. Largest lead was 1 for Seattle Storm and 32 for the Indiana Fever. Remember before where I was talking to you about like there's another reason why probably the Indiana Fever had a fire under them or they were locked in so intensely? It's because of the losses to the Lynx, the Indiana Fever went down to 8th position in the standing. 8th. We all know that the cutoff point is 8. If you get below that, you're going to be not in the playoffs. But if they would win this game with the Seattle Storm, it would take them back up to position 6, which is where they were before. So now the Indiana Fever is number 6. And we like that. So we have number 1, Minnesota Lynx. They already got their position in the playoff. Number 2 is Atlanta Dream. Number 3 is Las Vegas Aces. They already got their clinch in the playoff. And then number 4 is Mercury. Number 5 is Liberty. Number 6 is the Fever. Number 7 is the Valkyries. And number 8 is the Storm. Now, next on the list for the Indiana Fever to play will be the LA Sparks. Now, if they keep up the same kind of defense, if they continue to make those cuts and continue to utilize Boston the way that they did this time, if they continue to keep people in the game when they are hot, okay, if they continue to pass the ball and rack in some transitional points and really be about their work in the paint as well as on the perimeter, they're going to do fine. But they got to understand that with Plum, they can't be like a days ago because Plum can hit from the 2 and she can hit from the 3. Rakia, they can't, be. They got to guard Rakia because she can make 3-pointers and she gets into a roll. Forget about it. And there's others on that team. Brink. They have to make sure they have an answer for Brink. And be focused and be locked in. And they could win that game without a problem. But we shall see. So basically, I think that the Indiana Fever have the opportunity to really do well from this point on into the playoffs and even stay in the playoffs. But they got to be about it. Period. So let me know in the comments what you think about the game between the Seattle Storm and the Fever. Did you notice anything or did you see anything different in the Fever? in their way they played the game. Let me know about it in the comments. And if you haven't already, it might be time for you to come on and subscribe to my channel. My name is Barbara, around the WNBA and other sports. Come on and subscribe and give me a thumbs up because it helps. All right. Also, remember to tap the bell because when you do that, you'll be notified of new content. And also, if you want to see some highlights of the game with Seattle in the Fever, go to my channel and look into the shorts. And there are a few highlights in there that you will enjoy. All right, you will definitely enjoy them. And as usual, keep going, Fever. Peace and blessings. Till next time.